Hi, David here from Guitaria Music Tuition and welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to look at how to tune a guitar. If you're about to buy a guitar, then I'd recommend buying a guitar from a guitar store and asking them to tune it before you leave. That way, when you get it home and you need to tune it, you won't have to do too much work to get it in tune. If you do order it online, then hopefully it won't be too out of tune. But if it is, then don't worry, we're going to learn how to tune it in today's video. So there are different ways you can tune a guitar, by ear, with a pitch pipe, or the most common way, and the way we're going to look at in today's video, is with an electronic guitar tuner. So there are different types. You can get standard ones like this. You can get clip-on ones where you put on the headstock of the guitar and the screen faces towards you. And you can get mobile phone apps. So before you tune it, you need to know the names of the 6 open strings on the guitar. So the lowest string, the thickest string is E. The next one is A. The one underneath that is D. The one underneath that is G. The one underneath that is B. And then the thinnest one is also E, the high E. So there is a sentence you can say to help you remember the letters or the notes. Elephants and donkeys grow big ears. Eventually you want to break out of saying that sentence in your head all the time and just remember the letters. So I have an electronic guitar tuner here, which quite possibly will be different to the one you have, but they all work in a similar way. So I'm just going to go over the basics and you'll probably find it is the same across the board. So on this specific tuner, there's a letter there, G, that's for guitar. You can change that, B for bass, V for violin, U for ukulele, C means chromatic, generally, which just means you can tune it to any note, any kind of existing note in music. But we want it on G for guitar, for obvious reasons. So another thing you might want to look out for on your guitar tuner is the hertz. Now you want it to be set to 440 hertz. So bottom left of this tuner there, you can see it says 440. So on your tuner, if it says anything different, let's say 438, then you will need to adjust it. There's arrows on this tuner which can adjust it, so it goes to 440 hertz. If your tuner doesn't say any frequency like 440 hertz, then just presume it's already set to 440 hertz. So traditional tuners like this usually have a built-in microphone, which is suitable for tuning acoustic guitars. So if you have an acoustic guitar, you can just rest the tuner on top of the guitar and then pick the string you want to tune, and the mic in the tuner should pick the sound up. Now if you have an electric guitar, there's usually an input on the side where you can plug in your guitar lead. So one lead into your guitar, the other lead into the tuner. And the benefit of that is if there's any noise in the background, maybe someone's got the television on or some people talking, then the sound won't interfere with the tuner. So if you've got an electric guitar, I'd recommend plugging it in to give you more accuracy. If you've got an acoustic guitar, then you'll just have to rest it on top of the guitar, try and find a quiet space while you're tuning, because any noise in the room could interfere with tuning it. Okay, so let's have a go at tuning the guitar then. So if you've already had it tuned in a guitar store, hopefully it won't be too far out. So we're going to start off with the low E string. So I'm going to pick the low E string, and it says there that it's an E. The number next to it, number 6, that means it's the 6th string. So the thinnest string is string number 1, then number 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the lowest string, string number 6. So if your tuner says a number there, it's more than likely the string number. Some tuners can vary though, so it's not always the case. So if I pick the low E string, it's saying here that it is an E, and we have a red light on the left, and there's a bar line on the left. So what we want to do is get that line into the center and for the light in the middle to light green. So if I pick the string, so that's too low, too loose, so I need to turn the peg tighter till it goes in the middle. So now it's just gone past the midpoint, so the red light on the right is lit up and the bar is to the right, so that's too tight now, I've gone too far. So I just need to loosen it off slightly till it shows green and the bar's in the middle. Now, just because you're picking a specific string and it lights green and you get the bar in the middle, doesn't always mean you're in tune. So what I mean is you can tune the guitar to different notes. So even though this is typically known as the E string, I could get that in the middle like this. But that's saying D. So that's the wrong note for what I'm tuning. So just because you get it green in the middle and the bar in the middle doesn't mean it's necessarily the correct note. So just make sure it says the note you are tuning. So if you're tuning an E, you want to make sure it says E there. If it says anything different, then you're probably tuning it to a different note. So if the guitar is a fair bit out of tune, then it might show a different note. So for example, this is saying D, but I want to tune an E. So the easiest way to think about it is just the alphabet from A to G. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So that's saying that's D, but I want an E, so E is after D in the alphabet. So I need to tighten this string so it goes from a D into the next letter, which is E, and then I'll get that in the middle, just like that. Now there is a possibility you already passed the note you're tuning. So for example, if I'm tuning this E and that's saying G, you might want to loosen off the string rather than keep tightening it, because if you do that, you run the risk of snapping the string. So if you're not sure, I'd recommend just loosening off the string, really slackening the string off, and then work your way up, just to be safe. Because if you are past the note already, then you do run the risk of snapping the string. So if you're wondering what way to turn the tuning pegs, well, it depends on the guitar. So if you have 3 on the one side and 3 on the other, then turning the nearest side to you anti-clockwise will tighten the string, and turning it clockwise will loosen the string. On the underside, if you turn the peg clockwise to the way you're looking at it, then it will tighten the string, and if you turn it anti-clockwise to the way you're viewing it as you're holding it upright, it will loosen off the string. And if you're not sure, just turn the peg and you'll hear if it's going higher or lower. Okay, so I'm just going to tune the guitar then. So I'm going to play the low E string. That's the E string done. Another thing I'd say is there's no need to keep picking the string as you're trying to tune it, because the tuner might get confused and it won't register the note as well. At the same time, if the note starts to fade out, then you will need to re-pick it so the tuner can register the string. So I'd recommend roughly every 3 to 4 seconds you re-pick the string until it's in tune. Okay, so the next string is A. The next string is D. Next one is G. That one's already in tune. B. And then high E. So some tuners are more sensitive than others. What you might find is it lights green and then it could flick off to the right or left, and you get both red and green lights. So if that's the case, you're probably pretty close to being in tune, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. Try your best to get it in the middle on green, but if it's flickering, then it's pretty close anyway, and if you're just learning, I wouldn't worry too much about that. When you tune the guitar and you turn in the pegs, they are quite sensitive, so you don't need to do big turns unless it's really out of tune and the strings were really loose, then you would have to. But if it's almost in tune, then you've only got to turn the pegs ever so slightly for it to have an impact. So how often should you tune the guitar? Well, every time you play it, before every time you play it, just to make sure it's in tune. If you only tune it once a week or once a fortnight, then you run the risk of it going out of tune. Some students or parents of students say, oh, I only tuned it the other week. Well, the guitar can go out of tune within a minute. So you do want to check the tuning as frequently as possible. So what could cause a guitar to go out of tune? Well, playing it for a start. So when you're bending the strings, that can cause them to stretch and go out of tune. The temperature of the room, so if you leave it near a radiator, which I don't recommend you do, then that could move the wood slightly and knock the strings out of tune. Also, putting it in and out of a guitar bag or in the car could knock it out of tune as well. So some guitars have the 6 tuning pegs all in a row. So on those types of guitars, you turn them all the same way, to higher or to lower, unlike guitars where you've got 3 on the one side and 3 on the other. So just to help you tune the guitar, I'm going to pick each string separately, just to give you an idea on what each string should sound like. So this is the low E. The next string, A. Next one is D. The next one is G. The next one is B. And the last one is the high E. So that gives you a rough indication of the pitch of each string. So if your guitar is way out of tune, hopefully that will help guide you to get it roughly in tune before you use the electronic tuner. Okay, so I hope that's helped, and let me know how you get on in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.